Welcome to GOAT Talk. Today we're chilling with my man Rob Purvy, shoe OG, made some of your favorite sneakers, and we're gonna get into the state of the industry today. Rob, go ahead and let them know who they're in the room with.
Oh, well, I'm Rob Purvy, and I've been in the sportswear industry, primarily with footwear, but with some apparel as well, for almost 4 decades now.
All right, let's jump into it, man. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's show these kids what's up, man. What we know about the shoe industry. We've seen over the years the shoe industry's kind of been evolving, from where it was to where it is now. Sneakers have transitioned from functional footwear to be more focused on icons, cultural icons, and as an investment asset. How do you see this evolution influencing sneaker culture in the next decade?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. I think that AI will continue to evolve. So with that being the case, I think the shoes that will look like they're real because of the filter of AI is taking things to the next level.
Okay.
One of the things that I have had some frustrations with, if you're outside of the industry, but you want to be a part of the industry, when I tell you about something, you're going to say, well, when you have a sample, then we can actually have a conversation. But now with the AI filter, you can see it and it looks like it's real.
Well, do you think that's going to impact this? Because like we're talking about, shoes have become more of like an asset and an investment. When you and I were younger, I played in my Jordans. I hooped in them. I ran in my, my Air Max, and I wore them with my fit later. We actually did this. A lot of times these kids buy them, the influencers, they buy them, they put them in the closet. How do you think something like AI and all these new technologies, does that devalue the shoe as an asset? Or do you see, how do you see that impacting that part of the industry now? Because it's so asset driven and icon, cultural influencer driven.
Well, I think that's very true. But I think that the fact that with AI and some of these technologies that are coming in, it allows us to be able to make something faster, and it allows us to be able to make something without a lot of mistakes. So I think that's very, very important, because one thing we do know about the sneaker industry, it's not cheap.
Right.
And you have to always do something and make sure if you make one little mistake, you might lose everything you were trying to do.
But okay. On that same note, you see a company like Nike. They've done so much with the retro side of the game, right? And then you look at different brands like Reebok is starting to really, bring back retros. Everybody's doing it now. But again, with technology, with all these things that, making it easier to make shoes than ever before, to design a shoe, you don't have to have the skill set you have. Somebody just jump in it. It may not be as good, but they can still do it. Do you see that, with brands continually relying on the retro designs, how sustainable is this nostalgia industry as a growth strategy?
Well, I think it's actually a little bit going past its prime.
Okay.
And I think what adidas here, with Adidas, they've actually kind of did their version of it, which is as legit as that, because they went all the way back to the 70s with some of these shoes now, and they actually had the cost of them being a little bit low. So when you look at the Samba, it's about $110. But that is a retro shoe. And there's a lot of retro things that weren't done as well as Nike did it when they did it. So I think it's still kind of past the prime. But I also think that as we go deeper into making shoes in the future, I think some pieces of the retro shoes will be added to it. So it would kind of take us back, because I think particularly on the basketball side of things, I see a lot of people saying, oh, it's not as good as it was back in the day.
Right.
So I think they're going to have to do that to get this thing back together.
Okay.
Because there's this swinging thing between the sides of shoes in the industry that a lot of times maybe the consumer doesn't understand.
So it sounds like you're talking about we're going to land in the middle, where use technology as a great tool, because it can be, steal some of the best parts of the old retro nostalgia, and then create this hybridization of sneakers. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I like to live in the middle. You know what I mean? I think if you use what's happening in naturally evolving, this is just where we are, man. We got to embrace it. But then you don't want to be too stuck in the past. Combine it and create something dope. I think a lot of brands, I think that is a good strategy going forward. It's funny because Nike, you see them, they've built so much on the Jordan retro, and the Air Max retro. And you see the marketplace, man. It's they're still the big dogs. Now, it's Nike is Nike, right? But they're being chipped at a little bit.
Oh,
it's a little slice here, a little slice there. What do they say? 1,000 cuts? You know what I mean?
I said that to you when we first met each other. It's not going to be one brand that's going to take them down, but it will be some other brands that are now coming in. And we have to start thinking about what's happening that used to happen years ago, because look, the impact that Europe is starting to have in the sneaker industry now. But we didn't know it back in the day because we didn't have all of the things that we're exposed to.
Right.
Back in the day,
social media opened up that window.
Yes, because I didn't know
both sides of it, to them and to us, and they still you see what's happening.
Yeah, because as a youth, I was a Adidas person, but I didn't know they were from Germany.
Right.
I didn't know any of that at all. We didn't know anything from anywhere where they were coming from.
Right.
But you can see now that impact from Europe is starting to impact the United States too. You know, when you think about On, and when you think about HOKA, and you see all of those things, and both of those two brands I just mentioned, they're actually European brands originally, even though HOKA is now owned by the United States.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that kind of leads into the next thing then. You know, retros, technology, influencers, assets, collaborations. That's the other thing we see all the time now, right?
Yeah.
Between celebrity sneaker brands, you know, Kevin Hart who was it? Somebody else I saw was coming out with a sneaker, a female. Megan the Stallion got something. I think Cardi might be having something on the way, you know, whoever. But celebrity and sneaker brands have exploded in popularity. In your opinion, what separates successful collaborations from the ones that don't work?
I think it's a great question. I think what you need to do, in my opinion, is you want to make sure that part of the collaboration is a really, really known, strong shoe that a lot of people like. But then as the strong brand, you want to take and look at something that's blowing up that a lot of people don't know yet to bring them along. And probably the collaboration that I think of right now as an example would be when Adidas did a collaboration with Allbirds.
Okay.
And when they did that collaboration, did it work out long term? No. But I think it was a good thing because they wanted to tell a story about something we're going to talk about a little bit later, and we'll touch that then. But I think when you take somebody that's blowing up, because it was crazy because Allbirds made it all the way to Series E in terms of when they was, you know, raising money. And I didn't even know Series E even existed. You know, you would see a brand get a couple of series and then they come in, but I think they raised like $300 million or something like that. And they're struggling now, but that was a good idea of what a collaboration should be like, in my opinion.
The collaborations, because they're limited drops, you know, and again, sometimes it's a retro. It's like all these things in one. It's funny. You'll get a retro collaboration, you know, special drop. That means it's done in limited quantities, which impacts the resale market, which in itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We've seen, I mean, it's just changed how sneakers work. That's why it's become such an investment asset, like we said at the beginning. Do you think that reselling is more of a boom situation for the culture or a bust situation for the culture? Do you think it's more harmful or beneficial?
I think for the big brands, it was rough because you're not making money. Because, you know, somebody
taking yours.
Yeah. But I think that this is starting to process, because I think anytime some new innovation or a new way of business is being done, it's always a problem in the beginning. But the industry has to figure out how to make that still be out there, but the consumer can still be a part of it. So I think what StockX is doing now, what they're doing, they're taking away from that and creating a retailer or DTC company that can actually allow you to do something in that space, as opposed to somebody doing what they were doing when I'm just holding on to these and I'm gonna buy 3 pairs of it, I'm gonna wear 1 pair, and then I'm gonna sell the other 3 here when it becomes dead stock. Well, now you got places like StockX and G.O.H.T and all of these other companies that seem to be addressing that now. And I think that's probably something that will be able to make that thing have its own establishment.
It's interesting though, because it creates an opportunity for bots and for AI again, for people to, exploit the system and take advantage of it, right? So like you said, some people do buy 2 or 3, hold on to 2, wear 1, but then there's people who buy hundreds.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And now, and then they just jack the price up. It's basic economics. I mean, we all get it. And they're trying to implement things, but I mean, what do you think that does to the culture when a small amount of people are actually controlling the market like that?
Well, that's why I figured, because I left out eBay as well. So I think that's what the system is doing to try to address what you're talking about right now. And I think that once all of those retailers, direct-to-consumer groups, when they actually starting to get it together, it'll make it a lot easier for people, because those who buy the hundreds and all of that they can't say it's illegal, but it kind of seems a little bit illegal. It's not illegal, but that's going to
unethical for sure.
Yeah. So I think that'll, because I think eBay is doing a good job with it. StockX was in trouble for a bit of time with Nike. I'm not going to go into that because I'm not a lawyer, but we saw that was happening and everything. And I think those things are trying to make it so that the system can actually still float.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully they work it out, man. I don't know if it's a big enough mandate or political will to create a law for it. But, maybe, I don't know, maybe if foreign countries come in here and do something, they might do something about it. But I definitely think that I'm not big on government regulation, but there's sometimes you need it, right? And it needs to help out, because it's getting out of control, I really feel like. They're trying. I know some of the brands are really bothered by it and they're trying, so that's good. But that's more of a big brand problem, right? Yeah. And what we kind of mentioned earlier is these 1,000 cuts, right? Yeah. Independent and niche brands like ours, like TCG. We're an independent brand. There's a lot now, right? How do you see brands like ours and other independent niche brands, influencing sneaker design trends, and just the culture overall? Is it a sign that consumers want more variety, instead of the big dogs? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of a few things.
Kind of eliminates the corporate narratives, right?
Yeah, I think, what's happened now is, the sneaker industry in the United States in particular is so huge. So now we've had some evolution, some evolving a bit, where certain people, and I'm probably an example of that, you worked with major brands and then you decided later on you want to go on your own because you think you've learned so much that you can do what you want to do. And I kind of got into that space very early compared to now. And now I'm super happy that I'm still around because I'm here to enjoy that as well, because it's a lot of people that have left brands that are starting their own thing. Yeah. So I think that's just really part of the creativity that's in the culture in the sneaker world, and also when you have this creative mentality that's part of the United States.
And I think we're seeing a part of it too. I think it's like you said. I think it's multifaceted, right? I think there is a demand from the culture of wanting less corporate-driven narratives, right? Nike shouldn't be the only one telling us what's dope. You know what I mean? You're seeing even brands that when we were younger were considered corny as being hot right now. The Asics of the world, right? And the New Balance of the world. Like, you had to have a certain swagger to pull that stuff off.
Now, this is always funny to me, because the one brand that we never really mention is the one that older people think they're corny, and they're not, because they're like the number 2 or number 3 brand in the whole deal, which is Skechers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People, and what you think about, they making money, and they're signing athletes.
And they got people.
And they got Snoop. And they got
they got guys in the NBA wearing their shoes.
Right. That's great. Young guy, because it was just about the old dudes before.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you that, that shoe that they got where you just slide your foot in there. Oh my God.
Oh man, the old dudes, that back start hurting and everything.
That's the shit. That's killing the game right
now. But I think that's part of it. I think social media has given everybody a platform to promote themselves.
Absolutely.
And then kind of what you mentioned in the beginning at the first question was AI and technology, which kind of, like I said, it's becoming more prevalent. It's decreasing the barrier of entry. Granted, it's still expensive to really produce shoes, but you can design, you can get down the path a little bit easier now. Find a domestic manufacturer, find something, get a design over it's a whole process. It really has made it an easier process to get in.
Well, we're leaving one thing out. One thing really important, we should have mentioned it already. 3D printing.
Yeah, 3D printing, exactly.
3D printing. I mean, that is.
That's why we got so many foam shoes now. So many of those slide, easy type stuff.
Lot of stuff.
Yeah, because of that.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, and you get your tooling done like that. It just made it easier. And it's still not easy. It's just easier.
Yeah, easier. Right. But we don't really want it to be easy. I think one of the reasons why I have enjoyed being in the industry for so long is it's always going to be a challenge, and I like challenges.
Well, what do you think things are going to look like in the next 5 years in terms of the things we kind of covered? We kind of went down a dope line here of culture, influencers, the mindset of the new consumers, independent brands, AI, and the ease and the barrier of entry being lowered a little bit. 5 years, man. How do you see all that influencing the industry overall?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things.
And this is recorded, so we're gonna look back in 5 years and see how accurate this prognostication is, my brother. or inaccurate, whichever one.
and I'm with that.
Right.
And the reason why I'll say that is because many years ago, about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, I was always telling my boss at that time in the company I was working with, is why is it that we don't necessarily talk about the midsole foam of shoes to hype up the performance of the shoe?
Right.
So I was really getting an answer from my boss, and he was saying, well, it's the other things that we need to be looking for. Midsole is not something that jumps out to somebody when you go in the store and look it up on the shelf like that. But I was thinking this midsole thing, because I was in the industry back, if you think back to the first Jordan shoe, there was no midsole. It's what they call a cup sole. And that shoe was it. But immediately, right after that is when midsoles came in. But now if you look at it, and I was on a podcast somewhere else once, and they talked about me because I said this so long ago. And I said, you have to talk about the foam because that's part of the performance. That's part of why it's comfortable, all of that stuff. And nowadays, look at it. Because now we got so many different foams because there's so many different types of chemicals that are used now because a midsole in reality is really plastic. But nobody thinks about plastic when it has a cush and it's a mush in it. You think about, a bottle like this, that's plastic. But all of that stuff is plastic.
Yeah.
But now when you look at it, the brands, because of marketing and storytelling, you create your own name of your foam.
Yeah.
So
the Boost,
you can go on
all that stuff. Yeah.
You can go on and
you mentioned it a little bit. The materials that are being used has forced us to really, in the time we're in, sustainability, eco-friendly materials. I know you're working on something real dope. How genuinely committed do you think brands are to environmental impact and responsibility, versus, creating a fly shoe and trying to, do something that's less, eco-friendly? How committed do you think they really are?
Well, I think that this is another reason why I'm actually happy that Europe is involved in that and they're making shoes. Because Europe seems to be more thinking about sustainability and biodegradability and all of those things of that nature, more so than the United States. And that was one of the reasons why when Allbirds came out, that's what they were telling. And, they were basically saying, we need to do this, but they never did and created the marketing story to let people know it's fun, but you need to do it.
Right.
So I think that's really important because right now we make about 24 or 25 billion pairs of sneakers a year on this planet for a planet that only has a little bit more than 7 billion people. Because what you said earlier was key of what I was going to speak on. Because in the old days, you play and you work, you play and you work. Nowadays, you can have a brand new pair of shoes and you see another pair of shoes that you like and you go and buy that too. But it wasn't like that back when we were coming up.
Right.
So look at that, 24 to 25 billion pairs of shoes a year. And there's so many parts of the shoes that actually are pollution for our planet. And that's why I got into the thing that I was in with that group called Algenesis
Right.
that I talk about all the time.
Right.
And now Algenesis has been able to get the cost of their chemicals close to regular polyurethane plastic. And now people are seeming to come over that way, because the main thing you think about when you're making shoes, when you're at a brand, it's almost like the stock market. If I tell you that this is sustainable or this is biodegradable, you're going to say, well, it's a little bit too expensive, so I'm not going to do that.
Right. Right, because you got a bottom line.
You
But that's the value of a niche brand. We're not, a niche brand isn't, or independent brand isn't beholden to quarterly revenue reports.
Or the stock
and then
market.
annual, which is stock. That's what I'm saying. You got to be beholden. Your numbers better be up year over year or next quarter. If you see any decline, you'll get fired as the CEO or the CMO or whomever.
We saw it happen to Nike.
Exactly. So that I think that being independent, kind of bring it full circle, being independent gives you the flexibility. Nike's a big ass crate, a freight boat trying to turn. Independent band is a Sea-Doo jet ski kind of. We small, but we can get around you faster than you can get to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if you hit us, if you come at it, you got more power behind your thing. But we can move and do what we need to do.
Well, before you move on, that's the reason why we had a great time when we made that shoe several years ago, because we weren't not caught to the FOB.
Right.
The FOB was told to us, just make the best possible shoe you can, and we did.
But I think that kind of plays into the environmental sustainable point, which is, where when we started talking about with our brand being more customized and personal and bespoke, that limits quantities. Because what do we always talk about? We got 1,000 shoes sitting somewhere, 2,000 shoes, 3,000 shoes, and we're a small brand, sitting somewhere that ain't sold. We got to get rid of them. We got to do something with them. We printed all these shoes, all those materials, all that's, carbon footprint we just created with some shoes now that they're just sitting there. We got to get them out there. But a bespoke custom option is you're making that one for that person only. You're not using all that material, fuel, all the things, man hours, making all these different things that can damage the environment. It's becoming more popular now. What do you think? How do you think that's changing, like the business models and stuff? I know with us, we're doing it. So I mean, what do you think for other brands? Do you see that becoming more of a popular thing, even for a bigger brand?
Well, I think that's a really great question. And if we were not having things to talk about, I would have whispered to you and said, ask me that question. So, because I was the part of the first time it was a custom shoe made in the sneaker industry when we came up and we worked with Shaquille way back in the 90s with dunk.net. So it came along at that point, but the world wasn't ready. We didn't have social media and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But now you come all the way back around and look what we're doing now. We're doing that. But I was comfortable when you said you wanted to do it because I did it before. So now it's something that is here again. And I think with the technologies that we have now and all of the other things we mentioned earlier, this is so much easier, because it was really hard back then, because not only did we do it that way, we actually was selling the shoes from a factory in Asia that was going straight to your house. And that was all
and back then with dial-up internet, y'all don't know about that dial-up internet. Shipping was slow and crazy.
Took about 3 weeks.
Oh man, to pull that off back then, talk about being early, which we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But that's interesting, because it was before. The business model is make orders, make as many shoes as possible. Let's produce 1 million of them. A, we get them cheaper that way. But B, flood the market with all these shoes. We see independent brands coming in, changing that business model. It's funny because shoes were originally, like sneakers at least, were rooted more in athletic performance. Now we're seeing a shift to brands like ours, TCG, that is more lifestyle driven. Do you think that's reversible, or do you think that's kind of where we're going? Like every brand needs to be thinking lifestyle versus the athletic performance stuff becoming more popular, or regaining their dominance of the industry?
I've seen so many trends over the years that I've been in the industry. I think, and the term that we use is cashletic. You want it to be, it's going to cost some cash. You also want it to feel good. And at the same time, you would like it to feel athletic. And that's really what that whole cashletic word means. So I think we want to do it that way. And it's just another type of footwear that's part of a trend. But again, what the industry has always been able to do over the years is you take this new thing, and I think that the consumers sometimes think that the brands tell you what to do, but in reality, the trends come from the consumer, and then brands digest it and bring it in. So I think it's been a few years now that these, what most people call lifestyle shoes, that are actually being bigger than the performance shoes. But I think it's all going to come in and get in that swing that's always happening. There's always a swing. There was a period of time, for a long period of time, and then younger people might not even know this, that basketball shoes were stronger than running shoes. But running shoes is the reason why the whole thing came along. And now look where we are now, when some problems kicked in.
Because everybody was running. People weren't out here playing sports like that.
No, they were jogging.
You jogged. Because everybody could do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody could play football back in the 50s and 60s and basketball and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So I think it's, it's a swing. And right now running is back and it's killing. So
okay,
what it is.
That's interesting. I would love if we kind of come up with something one day where our low top shoes are suit worthy like our shoes are now. You can wear these sneakers with suits. You can wear them anywhere. Our stuff is very versatile.
Yes.
But also, like, if you got to walk a long distance in them joints, you feel good doing that. But that shoe is a quality shoe that can be sit on the shelf at Nordstrom next to a
it does
Bashimi. But then also that's, to me, you really figure that out. I think that's a good thing.
And that's why I'm,
especially urban living. People like walking around comfortable.
Yes. And that's another reason why I'm so happy that I was involved with high-end performance shoes early, because I can take bits and pieces of that and put it in why we call it cashletic. So you want it to feel good, because a lot of times people will say, man, I'm wearing that shoe because I got to wear it to work, and they don't want me to wear sneakers and so forth and so on. And as we got into the 90s, the brands themselves actually told you can wear sneakers to work. We're a sneaker company. Why?
Right.
You just can't wear somebody else's sneakers,
right?
But you can wear that to work.
Right.
So, and I think that's part of the evolution of the industry.
Like you said, trends, pendulums. I mean, that's the world we live in, right? Social media has trends happening faster and then dying faster, as ever before. And there was one moment, and where, with again AI, all these technologies, everybody was talking about the metaverse, NFTs, and it's still there. It's still there. It just kind of died off, and AI took over that conversation. But it's still there. Blockchain is still a thing, very real. You see video games, you see 2K or Fortnite, where you could dress your guy up, and I look at my kids, man, they're on, if it's Fortnite, like I said, the 2Ks, or what's the other one, Roblox, where you can walk around and design your own guy, and you live in kind of a virtual world, which is the metaverse. It's already here. They're already in it. How do you see digital sneakers or NFTs really impacting traditional sneakers? Do you see it as a takeaway or just an addition to the culture?
Well, I'm going to say this before we get into that, because it's kind of true and it's a little bit funny. I have two grandsons, and they're both 4. But the older one, JD, he actually came up with his phone and said, "Granddad, you need to buy this for me so I can get that in there."
On Roblox?
Yeah,
Roblox?
I was like, what are you talking about?
No. Look, that sidetrack. Kai said, I said, man, what if you won $1 billion? What would you do? That's my youngest son, Kai. He said, I'll buy everything on Roblox with it. I'm like,
there you go.
That's where we're at, bro. They're in the metaverse already.
That's right.
You and I aren't.
No.
We kind of are. Social media is kind of like this fake world we live in.
Yeah. No.
But they're really in it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off.
So I started with that. But to me, this whole metaverse and all of this NFC and all of this type of stuff that's going on right now, it reminds me of when DTC first came out. Because when direct to consumer, and we're talking like, because to me, if I sell something to you, that's actually direct to consumer. But when you talk about it in this digital space, it reminds me of that. Because when it came along, it was almost like .com. It came along, boom, it exploded, and then it faded away because people weren't really ready yet. But then when they get ready, it's going to come back. And I think the same thing is going to happen with this. Like you said, it looks like it's going down, but it's too important for it to go away.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are in these digital spaces every day? And then it's funny because I created a character just to be in there, and they all made fun of me because I didn't spend the money to dress my guy up. So it's like you getting clowned and bullied in that world like you did back in the day. If you wore some Bobo shoes or some, in my school, the Bogos and all that pants, if you wore some whack Payless shit, you got clowned
big time.
in real life. Now my sons roasted me because I didn't dress my guy. I'm like, man, I ain't doing that. But I got clowned big because I was like, your guys, they call it a noob. Your guy's a noob and whatever. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting there getting roasted about some virtual characters. And my boys take it serious, man. They 7 and 8 years old.
They do.
Or 8 and 9. Yeah, man. They it's crazy, man.
But that's what I think, though. I think it's going to come back because, again, .com went away.
It's just another revenue stream.
And then it came back.
Yeah, that people thought the .com era is dead. No, it's not. You still go to Amazon.com. You still go to Google.com. It's just not that hype that it was where it was overvalued and everybody got ripped off, but it's still here. Well, blockchain ain't going nowhere.
Well, see, I think what happened is when the .com and sneakers came out, the retailers didn't work. They didn't actually react to it.
Yeah.
And I know the guy who actually...
Well, when you're a big company, it's hard to, like I said, it's a big ass freight ship trying to move, and you got to get board approval, create this new, all that stuff you got to do to even have one idea come to life. But we actually jumped in it when we started doing our customization. We were on it early, where we're not there yet, but the goal was create your one of one shoe with us. You get it in real life, and then you get a digital version of it as well that you can take to, in the virtual space, dress your character up in Meta or whatever, whoever's going to come out with what. We just got to figure out how to integrate it, but it's still there. All right, I'll end on this note. You're kind of like, a final thought. What excites you most about the future of sneakers, and what innovative trend do you believe will be the most revolutionary in the upcoming years?
I think it's the combination of all of the technologies that we mentioned in this, because I think for me, in terms of my experience, when these technologies, when they blend together, it creates something more that won't even be considered a technology anymore. And again, we didn't talk about it a lot, but I think that the 3D printing thing is probably going to be the one that stands in front of them all, because I think that eventually, and I will probably be much older, that people will be 3D printing their own sneakers.
Yeah. Once you can figure out the materials with that, once you can figure out the materials that you can do multiple things outside of those kind of recovery shoe kind of things. I think we see, and I was telling somebody, you have all these technologies. They're all kind of living in their own world individually. The person, the idea, the thing that combines them properly. When you have AR, NFT world, when you have AI technology, 3D printing, blockchain technology, all these things combine properly to create this one super technology. Excuse me. Once you create that one super technology, that's when you're going to see the true shift, because all these things are kind of operating independently right now. No one has put them together properly yet to where they're one big technology.
Right. And the reason why I feel that way and I think that way is because let's say we go back 30 or 40 years now, it was a technology when we just threw something in the thing and closed it up and said, but that's not a technology anymore. Right. But that was a technology, and everybody was tripping. And a lot of people wasn't even buying it in that era because they just said, there's something wrong with that. But now, when we get to this, all of these things blending together, it will create something that will look and be a new technology. So, but we got to make sure that we keep our minds addressed like that, because one thing I'm never going to do is become an old dude that be saying negative things about the new stuff.
Right.
No.
Embrace that shit.
Yeah, we want to bring it all
together. It ain't going nowhere.
And
you and I going somewhere. Yeah. That ain't going nowhere.
But we want to bring it all together, because even the things from back in the day are now coming back into now to help these products that are out there now.
All right, final words. 18-year-old kid, just graduated high school. What advice they want to get into the sneaker industry? Give them some advice, some OG gems that they can take away from this conversation.
Well, I think you want to go, now that we don't have our phones right now. Now that you have your phones, use your phone like the same way Mr. Spock used to use that thing they had when you can actually go and find something out, learn some things. Don't come into the sneaker industry because you love sneakers. You want to use the love of sneakers, but you want to now understand the business of it and what you need to do, what you need to know. And you'll find out the same thing that you learn if you are in the entertainment world. You might find out that you can be part of the entertainment by being in the back of it as opposed to being the face of it.
Yeah, you don't have to be Beyonce. There's a million ways you can make money in the music industry without being Beyonce.
Exactly. And that's what I always tell everybody, because I blew up as a product developer, but eventually I ended up becoming a president of a company.
Basically, do wax on, wax off. Learn the foundation. Learn the
Absolutely.
Learn the processes, the skills that are required to do this thing. Like really get in there. Don't just, I like to draw, or I love collecting sneakers and I want to be in the shoe business. That ain't enough.
No, it's not.
Go just buy them and invest them there and just draw, sell some paintings. Yeah. But that right there itself, though, if you're a good artist, you can make millions in the industry as being a dope designer.
Yeah, you know. And the one college I would recommend is a college named Pencil.
Okay.
Always think about Pencil, and it's a shout out to E. Scott as well.
Okay. All right, there you have it. Rob Purvy. Appreciate you, brother.
Kyle Cox. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, that's G.O.H.T talk. Yeah. Be easy. Be thorough.